Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a very special live stream. I am supposed to have a couple of very special guests today. We're still working on getting Miley set up and joining us, so we'll see. Technical difficulties. It's like the bane of our existence. So we're working back behind the scenes to try to get her in here as well, but we're going to go ahead and get started because it is time, and we try to be punctual around here. This is my friend Jen Winkler. You guys, I'm sure a lot of my viewers know Jen. She's been in this, keto wellness community for a really long time, and she's a coach, and you've probably seen her on lots of different video like interviews, and then she has her own channel. So we are going to do just a chat today about our experiences and hopefully Miley's experience as well when she gets in here, just kind of shifting diet paradigms and making some changes, and kind of the physical side of it, but also the mental and emotional side of it as well. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you. I'm excited to finally be here with you, even though we talk like every day, but
I know. Yes, we have gotten to know each other really well in the last, 6 months or so. And now we chat all the time, and it's been great to kind of have a little group of us that are kind of going through a similar journey, because it can be very, very isolating when you're kind of moving away from what is more dominantly understood in the community that you're in. So anytime you kind of shift a little bit, it can be really, scary and lonely. And so to have this little community that we've kind of created has been really, really fun. So for those of you that are watching, please join in on the live chat and ask questions. We're going to try to get to questions however it works out, probably towards the end, but please put those in and we'll try to get to them if you have burning questions for us. To get started, I wanted Jen, I wanted you to share your 6-minute story. And 6-minute story is a term that Lindsay actually came up with. My friend Lindsay, those of you that watch my channel, you guys know Lindsay. We used to do live streams every week. And Jen, I know you know Lindsay. Also, she always has these great turns of phrases and things. And so it was her idea to do the 6-minute story. So it doesn't have to be like an hour long, your entire life story, but it doesn't have to be an elevator speech either. Just, give us the details. And then after that, we'll jump into more detail on the carb introduction piece.
Awesome. Yeah, I love like that term 6 minutes, because some people can really go on for a long time. That would be me sometimes. So anyways, my name's Jen Winkler. I got into the keto space, I would say 2018. I was low carb before that, but I didn't realize I was low carb till I knew what low carb was. I just went from a standard American diet to be like, hey, I'm 200 pounds. I need to lose weight. I have epilepsy, and I was on max dose multi-medications. And then PCOS, insulin resistance, horrible sleep, anxiety, panic attacks, all the kinds of stuff, skin issues. So I was like, let me just get rid of the junk food. I feel like everybody knows junk food is bad. Get rid of it. Became pretty much low carb-ish. And then I wanted to target the epilepsy. So that's how I got into the keto space. Ketogenic was originally made for children with epilepsy. So I said, well, I'm an adult. How different can it be? Let me try it out and see. And as I started learning more and more from other ketogenic people, I realized, there's even Johns Hopkins Hospital even has a whole department of ketogenic for adults. So it did help with my epilepsy. I got off significant amount of medication, but then with other things, it started not working, and I started gaining weight, having more skin issues again. So I went carnivore to try and do it as an elimination diet, and I got pretty hooked on it because I was the thinnest I was ever since super early high school, probably middle school. I had never seen that number on the scale, never been in those pants for years. So I felt, okay, this must be it. I'm going to stay on this. And then weight started rebounding, and Thyroid health suffered, and I'm not just talking about numbers. I had symptoms as well. And energy was tanking. I couldn't lift as heavy at the gym. I could barely make it through a 30-minute workout. So there were a lot of negative stuff that came too. And so then I just started exploring, started saying, well, let me go back to keto, low carb kind of thing. And some stuff did get better there. The weight didn't move very much, but energy was slowly improving. So I said, maybe there's something to it. And then I started seeing your story earlier this year, along with, a few others. And I said, wow, is this legit? And I was watching as much as I could. Wow, she's okay. She's doing all right. So then I brought my carbs up very slowly. And I mean, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but yeah, I'm completely opposite now from what I was before. And my body recomposition's doing well. My energy's good. Sleep is good. Thyroid's improving. Everything's going in the right direction.
Awesome. All right. Well, sorry, I was distracted. I'm trying to get Miley
totally
on.
fine. I know what you're doing. Yeah.
I think we've got it figured out. So let's go ahead and bring her on here. There she is.
Hey.
Oh, and we can hear you now. We were having trouble with the microphone, and but now I can hear you. So we just heard Jen's, quick story. And so Miley, I want to introduce you as well. Miley has been in this wellness space for quite some time, and is a coach, and you have history as a distance runner. Like, you have so many different things that you have done in your health journey. And it has also been amazing to get to know you, like, in the last 6 months or so. Just really having that camaraderie in this time when we've been shifting to something that is a little bit scary, a little bit like new territory for us. So anyways, I wanted you to go ahead and share your 6-minute story. It doesn't have to be an elevator speech. It doesn't have to be in an hour long, every detail of your life, but kind of your health journey up to this point. And then after that, we'll dig into a little more about the specifics about transitioning to carbohydrates.
Sure. Okay. Well, I will try to keep it within the 6 minutes.
Yeah. We don't have to have a timer or anything. Just,
Yeah. I mean, my story, I think, is pretty similar to a lot of other people who have gone low carb. I was a vegetarian. That's what they used to call it. From age 10 until I was in my probably mid-20s. And I had a history of often debilitating gut issues pretty much that whole time. I mean, it was intermittent, but it was more often than not. So I was kind of always on this quest to find a way to heal my gut. And it seemed like no matter what I would do, it would just get worse. So vegetarian, I actually grew up doing ballet. So there was probably some not so great eating practices in there when I was younger. And I really started getting into health when I was in my 20s. Still staying plant-based because that was definitely the way. But I wasn't improving. Things just kept getting worse. And so eventually I heard about paleo, kind of dove into paleo diet, which then led to keto or low carb, and then keto, and then eventually carnivore. And along the way, all of those diet changes did really help me. I found relief from symptoms, and it had gone beyond gut stuff. There was thyroid issues that popped up after pregnancy, my weight going up and down. So I had started running long distance, like you mentioned, when I was in my late 20s, and I got really crazy into ultra distance running. So, trying to kind of piece together the running and the gut and the thyroid and the diet changes. And I just kept going lower and lower carb until eventually I got to carnivore. And it felt kind of like the miracle, because all of my symptoms seemed to go away. And it was really wonderful until eventually it wasn't so wonderful anymore. Things started to creep back in, and I didn't really want to fully admit it. I just felt like I needed to keto harder or carnivore harder, eliminate more things that I felt like I wasn't doing something right. And that's why things were coming back. I eventually found circadian health and quantum biology, and that helped tremendously. But every time I would go back to carnivore, it felt like it wasn't working anymore. I wasn't getting the results that I had initially. And so last year, no, well, yeah, last year I started to introduce seasonal carbohydrates, whole food, mostly fruits. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm eating so many carbs, but really it was like a couple handfuls of berries. Maybe I would splurge and have a whole peach. um, and then this past spring, I had put on a lot of weight and my thyroid symptoms were coming back with a vengeance. And I was working with a strength coach and he said, we had cut calories. We had kind of tried all the things, staying within the sort of keto carnivore macros, and nothing was working. It was puffy, inflamed. It was really frustrating. And he said, would you want to do something really crazy? I was like, I'll try anything. And so we started talking about me doing a whole foods version of the sugar diet, which was like, what? So yeah, I kind of just dove headfirst into that. I had already been reintroducing some seasonal carbs, like I had done the year prior. But this was going from my high carbohydrate days being maybe like 75 grams, which was like, ooh, I'm really pushing it, up to over 200 grams of carbs from mostly fruits and honey. And it was shocking because all the things that I thought would happen, like I thought I would balloon up and my blood sugar would go crazy. That was the other thing on carnivore or, even really keto. My blood sugar was beginning to rise. So, and I was like, how is this possible? I'm not eating when I'm not eating carbohydrates. So anyway, I start adding in all these carbs and my blood sugar started to come down. My thyroid symptoms started to improve. I started to lose body fat. It still blows my mind. But anyway, so I did that for a short period of time. And then now I have just stayed with the higher carbohydrates and lower fats. I still love meat. I love all my animal products.
Yeah.
Just kind of putting it together in a different way. So, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of some of the pushback that I've heard from people challenging those that are adding carbs back and feeling better is that they probably didn't try tweaking it. They just tried a carnivore diet or a keto diet and decided it didn't work and then decided to completely shift their whole framework. But I'm curious to hear from you guys who have actually, are some of the people that have shifted. Did you try various things within the keto and carnivore framework before you decided to do this, Jen?
Both our heads are just like, I mean, I've been in this since 2018, and I'd say carnivore, it was like 2021-ish, around there. So yes, at first it worked great. And then when it stopped working, I did PSMF, the protein sparing modified. That lasted a day because it just wasn't tasty to me. If I can't have carbs nor fat, lean meat to me tastes disgusting. So yeah, it's just like it was literally one day and my fat was still too high for PSMF standards. And I'm like, I can't do this. I tried fat fasting, which I was able to do a number of times. It wasn't just one day or just overnight. It was a bit, but that didn't do anything for me. The only thing it did was it wreaked havoc in my gut, and I had massive stomach issues that took months to improve. I've tried regular fasting, water fasting. I remember trying to do another 3-day fast, so water fast. I looked at the scale, I looked at my clothes, and I was actually heavier. I gained weight, and I was like, how do I gain weight when I wasn't eating anything? This makes zero sense. And it was, I don't know what it was. I can't say, but nothing else was, I even made a reel about it, like making fun of it. So I've done that. I've done the whole protein, like just maybe lowering the fat, increasing the protein. And when I did that, my energy was still going down, which makes sense because if I'm lowering one energy, I need to bring in a different energy, right? So I did all the things over 2 years. I'm a functional health coach. I can read labs and stuff. So I was trying supplements that I was learning about. I was trying supplements, protocols other people suggested. Nothing until this and I'm still on this journey. I'm not going to say like I am healed, right? Like I'm still in the beginning. I'm still learning, but I can tell there's good things happening.
Yeah. All right, Miley, what about you? Did your keto carnivore journey just look exactly the same the whole 2 days you did it?
Not at all. And I mean, I can say I've been very low carb, whether it's keto, dipping into carnivore. I've been in the low carb space for over 10 years. And I have tried every trick and tool that is out there. I've done the intermittent fasting, I've done longer fasting. And same for me. Sometimes the fasting seemed to work. There were times in the very beginning when I would do intermittent fasting and I would lose a little bit, but I'd gain it right back the second I started eating. But there was also times where I would do fast and I would gain weight. So yeah. Fat fast, PSMF. Actually, I started playing around with PSM. Why can I never say it? Protein sparing modified fast.
You're not the only one.
When I was watching some of your videos, Neely, I was like, oh. And then, I actually went and did a certification for carnivore, and it included a little extra protein sparing modified fast certification. So yeah, I mean, I've tried all the things. I never did strict lion diet. I will say that I never, maybe a day or two here and there, but I didn't go hardcore long-term, just beef, salt and water. I never did that, or ruminant meat, salt and water. So, I mean, maybe that was the thing that I missed.
Yeah, right.
You didn't carnivore
on that one thing.
I didn't carnivore hard enough.
Exactly. Yeah, that seems to be
changing macros around, raising fat, raising protein, lowering protein. Even playing around a little bit with the carbs. Like I said, I got up to a whopping 75 grams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for those of us that have been in the space for a long time, like I was keto back before it was even called keto, and I did the really strict, very, very high fat, very low protein. I tried it way back then. And then when I came back, it was like more of the carnivore time where protein was good again. And so I did it that way. And then from there, sardine fast or high fat, low fat, PSMF. I never was able to do as low calorie PSMF as, it really should be, but I would do like really lean days and, like everything in between over, this last period was over about 5 years. So just this idea that we just didn't find that right tweak, or we didn't work with the right person, or, we didn't try anything is just kind of, I think, very untrue for the majority of people. Sure, there's probably some people that tried carnivore for a week and decided they didn't like the diarrhea and moved on. But for a lot of us, especially those of us that are being vocal about it, we're being vocal because we did try all of those things. And now we want to share our experience with what we're finding that is different. Okay.
And I will say, not to interrupt, but
yeah, go ahead.
I am one of those weirdos that actually likes sardines. So I did the sardine fast. I did them for multiple days. And it worked a little bit and then it didn't, but
I don't mind them either. I'll still incorporate them. Like we were saying, we'll still have the meats and stuff. I'll still incorporate them because they're really nutritious. They're still a good part of our balanced diet. There's the term. It's coming out.
Uh-oh. Everything in moderation. Oh no. Okay, well, I still have some jars of sardines down in my pantry that I've been like, I really should just get rid of those. But then I'm like, but they're so nutritious, I can't just get rid of them. And then I'm like, but I'm not eating them. They're still down there.
I can't eat them on their own.
To you guys.
I just do it. I do it like mixed with tuna kind of thing and mustard.
Yeah.
And now that I can have I don't know, different sauces. Gosh, what sauce do I want to put on it?
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't even thought about the sauces. But Neely, it's good emergency food anyway, right?
That's what I thought. I was like, you know what? If the time comes, I'm going to want the nutrients in these. Yeah. It's not like they're going to go bad.
Right.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the obstacles, either physically or mentally or emotionally, any holistically, that you've had to kind of work through as you've made this transition. Because as much as we want to say, we added carbs and everything magically fell into place and we had no issues. The scale completely cooperated. We'd lost that last 20 pounds and all of our blood markers were perfect and no stress. That's not reality. And so I'd love to hear you talk about kind of thought patterns and different physical things maybe that you've had to kind of face and then work through in order to kind of make this transition. Jen, go ahead.
I feel like this could be a whole video in itself because I realized that recently that it seems like that's what the message is coming across as, oh, I just added carbs and everything magically got better. And it didn't. There's definitely some hurdles. And, you know, I was blessed to be able to hang out with you guys and have something to bounce back and forth and, hey, going through this. And I think having that community was really helpful. You know, you went through it, you had a coach and you had people. So it's just transferring that education and that information around. So that was really helpful in itself. The hard parts were obviously, I think the hardest part was realizing I need leaner meats, which that sounds really obvious, but because I'm so used, and my husband too, my husband makes the dinners. I will say that is the biggest obstacle. He's the dinner maker because I'm with the kids all day and that's like my time. He does that and I can do work and stuff. So he has been so used to making, like, just pounding in the olive oil and the tallow and putting all that. I'm like, I think this is still high fat. I can tell. So we've had discussions about that. And now we're doing more pork loin. We're doing more leaner cuts of beef. We're getting the fish in. And then I'm helping him realize, again, the sauces are a big key. Like we buy the Japanese barbecue sauce, as long as it's clean ingredients, all those kind of things. And so learning how to make things flavorful again, I think was part of the journey because at first it was kind of like, The other thing was I did slap on a CGM at first because I was very curious and I freaked out a little bit because, and when I say at first, I should clarify at first this year. So when I really started ramping up the carbs was around June this year, maybe May. Yeah, it was June this year. Because before that I was like 50 to 100. So when I ramped it up and I'm doing way more fruit and I would see my blood sugar go up to like 180 at times, it was kind of freaking me out. But I had to trust the process. And eventually, like today, all right, I'm going to say it. With my breakfast, I had juice.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
I had pure sugar.
Not poison.
So I had this incredible tropical juice that I've been buying with my pork loin and eggs. The eggs were mostly egg whites. And the blood sugar went up to like 120 and came right back down to baseline. And so it's been this process. I think that's one of the things people freak out about most is the blood sugar. It's going to spike. It's going to do insulin, spike your insulin. And it did at first, but it's because I haven't been having this stuff for years. Yeah. So getting my body readapted. So those two, and then I don't want to take all your stuff, Miley, in case but the other one is just figuring out which ones work for me. Rice does not work for me yet. And I know, Miley, you've shared the same. And then realizing potatoes don't work well for me, which is really sad because I really like potatoes, but I can eat them endlessly. I could just keep going to town on them. So not throwing the baby out with the bathwater because potatoes make me want more of the foods doesn't mean I can't have the whole macronutrient. But yeah, I think those are the top ones on my head. There's probably others. I know there is.
Yeah. Miley, what about you?
I mean, mine are pretty similar to yours, Jen. And, like I said, I dove in because the sugar diet was this big thing that was happening. And I felt like I needed something really different. So the biggest obstacle was getting over that mental hurdle that carbs are bad, carbs are evil, carbs are poison, and they're going to do all the bad things. And I just had to trust my coach. I don't think I would have done it if I had not been working with a coach. Because we can see all kinds of trends and fads pop up on social media, all the crazy tools and diets and things, and then they fade away. And so I try not to get too sucked into them. But with him kind of guiding me, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm not just going to like tiptoe in. I'm going all in. Not that I would necessarily recommend that, but I was like, why not? I'll just do it. So getting over that mental hurdle, that was one of the biggest obstacles. But I also think that the sugar diet, I don't even like calling it that because it was not like, pounding loads of table sugar and candy and all it was real food.
Mhm.
But it helped me actually get over that hurdle. I'm not going to say it isn't still there a little bit, like the juice thing, you having juice. I was having some juice, which I told you guys about. I was
Mhm.
drinking the poison, and it was so amazing. I felt like it just, I don't know, it just felt like this miracle elixir or something in that moment. It just felt so good. But then there's that little tiny part of my brain that's like, ooh, but is this not good? Like,
Yeah.
is my blood sugar going to go crazy? Am I going to gain a bunch of weight? It didn't happen. But so still working with that, still trying to wrap my head around lowering the fat because it does bring me back to the 90s and, maybe unhealthy or less than healthy approaches that many of us probably participated in, going for the processed packaged foods that were non-fat and low fat and thinking that was healthy. I actually convinced my parents to stop using real butter and it was called like Earth Balance or something. It
Oh
was
yeah, I remember that.
because that was the healthy choice. But it was the packaged processed non-fat era. So my brain does go back to that a little bit. That's a little bit of an obstacle. Like, okay, I'm not eating fat. There is fat in my diet. It's healthy. What I think are healthy choices for fats, but it's a little strange to not, throw slabs of butter and eggs. I used to have butter with eggs rather than eggs with butter. And then, and not doing the heavy cream and tons of half and half. I loved my breve lattes, and those are more of a special treat rather than an everyday thing. So yeah, there's that. And one of the things that I have had to keep reminding myself is that this is a transition.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it seems like people have a harder time with the carb transition than with the low carb or keto transition. We know that there's keto flu or low carb flu or whatever you want to call it, where the body has to adapt to having fat being a primary fuel source. And yet it seems like that's a real struggle for people to get their heads around, including me, when transitioning back over to having carbs be more of a main fuel source. So yeah, those are kind of the.
I agree with you because like the whole thing when I was up to 75 to 100 grams, I'm like, well, I'm still low carb, so I'm still safe. But I had to just pull the Band-Aid off because that was the area where I was still feeling anxiety at times. And I don't mean anxiety about trying foods. Like it would be if I was driving down the road, I could feel panicky, things like that. And I couldn't think straight. So I tend to wonder, this is totally me just guessing, but I wonder if my body was it was getting used to the carbs, but then it burned through it pretty quickly. And it was like, how do I go back? It wasn't in that flexibility point yet. So I had to rip the Band-Aid off and just go higher. And I have found 200 to 250 is my sweet spot where all of that is disappearing. And yeah, I just feel better. And obviously the fat is very low right now. It's not like zero fat. It's enough to sustain hormones and brain function and stuff. So it's just because something's good for you doesn't mean you need buttloads of it.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. If some is good, more is not always better necessarily.
Oxygen, water, all those things way too much.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
and I found with the sugar diet, I started after a couple of weeks in, I started feeling a little hypoglycemia. And I don't know if that would have happened if maybe I had gradually increased the carbs and then tried something like that. But yeah, it's definitely not a one size fits all. I think we all have to kind of figure out our protein, fat, how much we need with the carbs, if you can do naked carbs. I don't think there's anything, I mean, this is just my opinion. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with naked carbs, but they just weren't working for me.
Yeah. And it's also important to remember that your body, like you said, is in a state of transition, which means it may not always be like this. So maybe you experienced those hypoglycemic times, and maybe if you did the same thing in a year after having incorporated more carbs for a year, your body would respond differently. And I think that's one struggle with the keto and carnivore and elimination diet type mentality is when you are on an elimination diet, no matter, what kind, and then you add something back in and you have a response, you use that response as like this black and white, this thing is good or this thing is bad for me from here to eternity. And our bodies are just they respond to the inputs that we're giving it. And so when you, have been carnivore for a year and then you add in blueberries and you get a rash, you have to take into consideration the carnivore diet you've been on for the year and not just the blueberries. Because maybe if your body was in a different state, you would have the blueberries and have no problem. So that's, and getting, past that mental hurdle of, I'm having this negative effect, instead of just demonizing one tangible thing right in front of you, like kind of taking more of a holistic perspective and, thinking about things a little bit more in depth is so important. And it is a very big struggle, especially as we've come out of this very black and white type thinking about carbohydrates in particular. They're bad. To kind of find the nuance and find well, sometimes they're bad, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they can actually help. That it's a lot more tricky, I think. I think that's one of the struggles that a lot of people have. It's really easy to just say carbs bad.
Yep.
I will not have any of them. If I have some carbs, it's some bad. If I have a lot of carbs, it's a lot of bad. And, but to go in and like talk about the kinds of carbs, where my body is at, what, my gut needs, all of this, it's very complicated. So,
well, in my mind, sorry, I thought you were done.
Yeah, sorry.
No, something I was thinking about this morning with that topic was, so without naming people, because this is kind of a generalized thing, when they do say carbs are bad, are they also eliminating dairy and particular fish that have carbs? Do they trigger them? And I speak from genuine curiosity because I do not understand that whole concept of it. And I don't get why like certain bars out there that are targeted towards meat animal people, but then there's fruit in it or carbohydrates in it or honey, they don't get triggered by those carbs. They don't get triggered by the animal-based carbs. But what is it about fruits and vegetables that trigger them? That's just food for thought. Something I was trying to understand this morning during my morning walk. I'm like, I really just want to get it. But
yeah.
Well, and I wonder if it has to do at all with that. I remember somebody talking about low carb purgatory, where it's like you're eating a little too many carbs to really be keto or to be considered low carb, and your body's a little bit confused. And so I wonder if that happens too with the triggering of cravings. It's like if you're eating, a little bit of fruit, maybe that does trigger because your body is like, oh, carbohydrates, we like this, we want more. And so it's triggering the craving so that you will eat more, but then maybe we give ourselves permission to eat the things that are not just a clean whole food source of carbohydrate. They're actually more of a processed fat food. Like,
that makes sense.
Like cookies, people are lumping carbohydrates in, the whole foods in with the processed stuff. And they're saying, oh, like cookies and candies and chocolate. Well, those are often higher in fat calories than they are in actual carb calories.
Yep.
So I just wonder if some of the people that struggle with the triggering of cravings for some of the other things, if they were to bring the fruit and the whole food carbohydrates up, kind of pushing closer to that 200 gram mark over time, of course, would those cravings disappear? Would it not be so intense? Would we stop maybe giving ourselves permission and then blaming the fruit? I know everyone is different, but for me, I was surprised that eating a huge bowl of strawberries did not make me want to go and eat a huge bowl of ice cream. Like having the 5 peaches I would have in the summer did not make me want to go and buy a Snickers bar. Like it was, in fact, I did go and get a cookie at my favorite little bakery, and I didn't want the whole thing, which was so weird because when I was trying to be carnivore, I would have been like, okay, I'm gonna have another little bite and then I'll save it. Well, no, if I save it, then I'm having it tomorrow, so I might as well have it now. I mean, it was sort of that addictive sounding voices in my head, but it didn't happen when I was eating sufficient.
No, because you weren't like even restricting it. Like I did the same thing during the summer. If I had a sweet craving, I was downing watermelon like nobody's business. And it was incredibly hydrating. It was filling. It was delicious. And so I gave myself the permission to just, if I wanted something sweet, I had fruit. And so I didn't, Halloween, same thing just now with the candies. I was like, I did have one, I'm not going to lie, but I didn't really want any others. I was like, I haven't had a peanut butter cup in a while. I'm going to have one. And then
it's like not as amazing as you think it's going to be.
It wasn't, and I think that's why I didn't have more. I was like, that wasn't as tasty as I thought it was.
Yeah. And when your body is fueled with those whole food carbohydrates and it's not in a place of, you know, feeling the lack, then the draw just isn't there. It's like, oh yeah, I already have had those carbs. So I'm not like, my body's not like screaming for more. I did want to say that I think all of us in the wellness community, we want a diet that we feel normal in, whatever that means, like not obsessing about food, not having the food noise, being able to be in social situations and focus on them for what they are rather than, you know, obsessing about the food. And if someone finds that eating, and I know people like this, that eating a keto diet and eating a carnivore diet gives them that, then that is what they should do.
Yes.
And so this is not trying to tell anybody else what they should do. And I think people can find that kind of food freedom in all kinds of different diet frameworks. People, you know, high carb vegans, they talk about having this food freedom that they never experienced another time. And I'm not going to tell them that they don't have that. You know, it's like and so we get to choose what makes sense to us and what gives us those results. So it's more about the results that we get and the food peace and freedom that we get than it is, I think, about the particular diet framework. Because I think we probably would all agree that there's not just one diet framework that will give everyone that food freedom.
For sure.
It just doesn't. Like even the three of us have different macro breakdowns and, you know, different things that work for us. And so I don't want to like give the impression that this kind of a eating style is going to give everyone the same results. And if you're getting the results that you want with the eating style you have, you should absolutely continue to do that. Let's see. So I wanted to talk about a little bit where you think keto, because you guys are coaches, you coach people. Do you just hate keto now and think that no one should do it and it's the worst thing in the world? Or where does keto and carnivore kind of land for you in your practice?
I definitely don't hate it at all. It has done wonders for my life. I don't remember if I was talking to you ladies or my husband about this, but I mean, each stage I went through served a really good purpose. So when I went carnivore, I didn't poo-poo keto, right? Like now that I'm having whole foods, I'm not going to poo-poo either of those. Keto really helped me to learn how to read ingredients, right? Like I started learning about seed oils. I started learning about added sugars, all those kind of things. So it served that. It helped me prioritize fats and proteins for my hormones and my brain health and all that. And then going carnivore helped me to understand different cuts of meats and how much fats are in each one and just enjoying a good steak. Like on keto, I wasn't doing steak very much. It was ground beef and chicken and whatever else. So now I feel like I'm finding that balance between the two, where keto, I was having vegetables and berries and stuff, and then carnivore. And now it's just that balance. So that's where I see it. I know I don't hate it. They serve their purposes. Some people find incredible healing with it and they stay on it and they're totally fine and nothing's going wrong. And I say, go for it, man. Don't quit it. Just keep going. You know, if you become miserable, okay, come back to me. But in my practice, I'm honestly still figuring it out. I'm not going to lie. If someone comes to me, I want to find what's going to be sustainable for them, whether it's short term or long term. Mm-hmm. So I do believe, and I have seen keto carnivore has worked on insulin resistance. Insulin goes lower, but then, you know, we can work on root cause a little bit more, look at gut health, stool testing, blood work and stuff, and see while we're bringing that stuff down, let's work on I saw someone comment the engine, the cellular engine thing. Like, I get that. That's totally where I'm at. Your circadian rhythm, like I'm sure you would say, Miley, all those kind of things, and then start reintroducing stuff. So that's where I see the future of my coaching going.
That's great. Miley?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar for me. I focus a lot on circadian rhythm and quantum biology. And I think what I've been thinking about a lot lately is that as a coach, I always want to focus on health and healing in the most natural ways possible, nutrition with these goals of health and healing. So it's not a goal of becoming a certain diet. I am not going to coach someone to become a carnivore or to become, someone on a keto diet. I think that my mind has shifted into thinking of these things as really, really valuable tools that can be used at different seasons of the year and in different seasons of life. And so, yeah, that's where I'm kind of shifting things, because before I was a keto and carnivore nutrition coach and circadian coach. So the circadian part hasn't really changed, but shifting away from using keto and carnivore as lifestyles and using them more as tools. And then for me, and the way that I practice coaching is I really do focus on circadian rhythm and trying to help people get their bodies in just a natural rhythm with the daily light cycles, but then also the seasonal cycles. And so I see carnivore and keto as tools that are more winter appropriate, fall and winter appropriate, because, we don't have to get into that, but and then, going maybe a higher carb, lower fat is a little bit more spring and summer. Mm-hmm. However, I don't think that you have to be rigid and dogmatic even in that. I think that there's so much wiggle room and there's so much nuance, and everybody is different. We all live in different places, live different lives, have different histories with our health and our nutrition. So those are kind of like my benchmarks, I guess. But then I have my very first client who is open to adding in carbohydrates. So we're kind of navigating this together because it's new for both of us. And we're both like, because she came from keto and carnivore. But yeah, so it's going to be instead of such a rigid coaching, I want it to be something that flows and is different with whoever I work with. I don't know that I would really want to necessarily work with someone who only wants to stay carnivore forever.
Yeah.
If that works for them, again, that's great.
So
yeah. There's lots of people who will work with people who really just want to stay carnivore or really want to stay strictly keto. But I think the way that I see myself practicing is being able to have a little bit more flow. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love the concept of these dietary approaches being tools, because it takes out the morality of it, or the religious aspect of it. Like, this is the only one good and true diet and nothing bad can happen from this diet. And this diet is all bad and all of the bad things happen over here. But when we think about tools, we think they all have benefits. They all can be used inappropriately. They could all do damage if used the wrong way. And we kind of handle them carefully and, try to be. So with my diet, I don't think I'm on the perfect diet for all people. I don't even know that I'm on the perfect diet for myself. I think there's probably drawbacks and benefits, just like there were drawbacks and benefits when I was eating keto. And just to have that awareness of that, instead of blindly thinking, oh, I know that I'm on the best diet, so therefore I can kind of put blinders on to any negative health effects that come up. You think of it a little bit more logically rather than, you know, with this devotion to one particular thought pattern.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that's why I say I still don't know everything on this. Like I'm still on the journey. I feel like I've learned a lot with everything I've been watching and learning. But there's still, I also thought the same thing with keto and carnivore. So there's just always things to learn. And I think being one of the biggest things I'm trying to harp on is, and I think you were getting to this, or you did get to this, Miley, is just focusing on the health of the person and not like staying in this box on carnivoring harder, ketoing harder. Like maybe that's not what works for you. For me, I had some testing done. I was part of like a clinical trial with my doctor, the whatever. But part of it, they did gene testing. And I don't have the gene that, I don't know if it's digests or metabolizes or whatever one it is. I don't have the gene like the Inuit do that can do high fat. So it's literally in my genetic makeup that's probably why I struggled a good amount whenever it was high fat.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So real quick, let's talk a little bit about if someone, so we don't think that everyone that is keto and carnivore should add carbs, but if someone were keto carnivore and they're having issues and they want to try adding carbs, what would be some tips that you guys would give them to do it in a effective way that wouldn't cause too much? I mean, would you tell them to jump right into the sugar diet and go, buy the bags of gummy nerds to start downing?
No.
What would be just some basic tips for people who are kind of like thinking about it and at a scary place like we have all been, just some practical stuff.
Miley, do you want to go first? I feel bad. I was always going first.
Sure. Well, again, for me, because I am very circadian quantum biology focused, I would recommend looking at what is in season and local to you. So, and looking for whole food sources. Now that even can get a little tricky because there's digestibility and the fact that you haven't been eating carbs, and there are certain carbohydrates that will be easier to digest and certain ones that may be harder for some people to digest. So there's obviously a lot of nuance with that. But in general, like right now it's fall. And so for me, there's lots of apples and pears and pomegranates. And I mean, I can still get some berries, I think. And it's not like I stick to this hardcore and I won't eat anything that's not local or seasonal. But in general, if I were starting now, I would probably start with like some cooked apples or cooked pears. That helps with the digestibility. And I would go really, really small. I mean, I definitely dove head first, and not even really head first, because like I said, I had been introducing some seasonal carbohydrates, but I would probably tell someone else if they were asking, I would recommend going a little bit slower and just seeing how things go. I would also probably recommend that people include fat and protein with the carbohydrate, not a ton of fat, because it is like a seesaw. So that would be another recommendation. As you are bringing in carbohydrates, you want to be lowering the fats a little bit. So I just, kind of see it like the little scales. What else? Yeah, Jen, you go for it, because my mind just kind of went poof.
Oh yeah, I relate. Definitely, I echo all of those. I would also say start with incorporating like whatever choice of whole food carbohydrates, start it in the morning since you're more insulin sensitive. Bringing in your quantum stuff. If you can go outside and eat, go outside and eat, things like that can help with that blood sugar regulation. And just keeping a food and mood journal, so you don't even have to necessarily track the macros yet, just keeping that journal of this is what I ate, this is how I felt, the next morning, how did you feel? Because you might feel effects a day or two later. So that when you do feel something that is out of the ordinary, you go back to that day and the next prior day as well and see, what was it new that I tried? And maybe that's not working for me. And then one thing I will be doing with my clients as well is, it's not just, let's say you had the cooked apples and it didn't work well. Well, it's not just the apples themselves, but what are the traits that the apples have, and what other fruits or vegetables might have similar traits, things that are fermentable, for example. Maybe you can't do as many fermentable things right now. So we'd kind of find those kind of categories versus just, I can't do carbs. Yeah. And then but everything you said is like the main things. The rest are just kind of tweaks going along.
Yeah. I like what Zane said on an interview. I forget which one. It might have been the one with me, where he talked about that there will be turbulence.
Yeah.
Don't expect that you're just going to add carbs and everything is magically going to fall into place. If you have been eating a keto or carnivore diet, your body is adapted to that. And to adapt it to something else is going to take some time and some ups and downs. Like you were talking about, Jen, having some blood sugar swings at the beginning, or, the hypoglycemia response. And so one of my encouragements is always, like, definitely don't ignore those things, but also don't just have one negative symptom and think, oh, well, this doesn't work for me, I need to go back. There is a path through, and I think all of us have experienced negative things and then pushed through, and positive things come on the other side. So that's one of my big encouragements. But it is scary, and having a community is very beneficial. If you're able to have a coach, I know that that's not financially an option for everybody, but if you can, being that you're shifting from such a, specific state to a very different state, like having someone walk you through that, it can be very helpful. So that's another one of my tips. And we actually have a little teaser at the end related to that. So stick around, watch to the end.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get to the comments and questions, but right before we do that, I just want, I love food. I am a foodie. Since I was a kid, I've loved baking and cooking and like variety. I worked on an apple farm when I was a young teenager, and it had all kinds of produce, and I would like just get all these different produce that I, never tried before, and cook it, figure out how to cook it. And I love that. So I want to hear from you guys. What are some foods that you've been enjoying recently that maybe you spent a long portion of your life not enjoying? Let's geek out about yummy food for a second.
Well, can I just say that I made waffles. I made oat waffles for my daughter, and she kind of looked at them like, what did you make me? Because for her entire life, I've been experimenting, trying to make baked goods taste like normal baked goods, but they never really did. And so these were normal, and she tasted and she goes, whoa, these actually taste good. And I was like, well, because they're not like almond flour, egg white, blah,
Yeah.
with the funky sugars or fake sugars. So I have been enjoying baking, and I am still very gluten-free. I don't know that I will ever be able to bring gluten back, but I have been experimenting using oats and gluten-free flours, and just even having oatmeal for breakfast. I actually didn't even like oatmeal when I was a kid, and now I really, really like it. It's great. But it's also fun just to go places and look on a menu and not just have to go to the one or two things that I can have.
Yes.
There's options. And even with gluten-free, it's like I still have so many options now that I can eat carbohydrates. It's really fun.
I agree with the oatmeal. We buy a specific because I still try to lessen like the glyphosate and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
oatmeal's very heavy in glyphosate. So there's a couple brands I know that I use that are glyphosate free. I'm still like on the oatmeal, I'll maybe once a week. It's not like an everyday thing for me, but I put like pumpkin in it with some whey protein, some vanilla in it, and it is so hearty and so delicious. So
It's
that
so
one,
filling.
it is. That one's been one of my favorite breakfasts lately. And then, so it's been like 8 years since I've been bringing some of this stuff in. And the other one, so when my husband and I were dating, one of the things he would do would make turkey sandwiches with Trader Joe's cranberry sauce. And we would go hiking and have like little picnics with it. So the other day he brought home the cranberry sauce from Trader Joe's. And I was so excited because that stuff is so good. And there's no junk in it. I mean, it has sugar, but I mean, where we're at. So putting that on the turkey, I don't do bread very much. We buy like a really quality sourdough that I might do like an open face sandwich. But just being able to have sauces and things like cranberry sauce and the oatmeal. My grandmother, this is going to sound so lame, but my grandmother would make rice with black beans, and she did like black beans properly with tuna steak. So I had that the other day. Since my grandmother passed away recently, it was like this whole like memory thing. You know, that was one of the things I think a lot of people struggle with is I used to eat these foods with so-and-so, or like this is some kind of memory with the food. And the fact I can do the healthy ones together, like not in memory of her, but you know what I mean? Where it's like
it's a comfort, it's a connection.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, the comfort of it. I didn't do much rice because I'm still figuring that one out. But even just the black beans and stuff, that was very filling too. So yeah, those are my main ones, I would say. A good croissant, a sourdough croissant.
Oh my gosh, yes. One thing that I have done over this last summer that I hadn't really done much of my entire life is making jam and canning. Because I mean, who wants to make low carb jam? Like there's lots of recipes out there and I just never like put the effort into doing it. But I wanted to be that kind of a mom, you know, and now that I'm a grandma, I want to be that kind of grandma that like cans their homemade jam and bakes bread and like does all these, you know, homesteady things. And I feel like I can finally be that person, which is really fun. And same as you, Miley, whenever I make like a pancake or a waffle or bread, the question is, what's wrong with this?
Yeah.
Like before I eat it, you need to tell me what's wrong with it. And I'll be like, nothing is wrong with it. This is normal. And so that's been kind of fun to just make really yummy food. And like, I feel like we worked really hard to make good tasting food in the keto carnivore world. Like that's one of the things that I worked really hard to create recipes and
you did. I will say.
Good. But an egg white bread is not going to hold a candle to a good loaf of sourdough bread. Like it's just no contest. Or, you know, some kind of a sweetener flavored sweet drink is not going to hold a candle to a glass of fresh squeezed orange juice. Like it's just, there's something magical about real whole food that I feel like I'm able to experience and enjoy like without guilt now. Because before maybe I would taste it here and there and be like, oh, this is so bad, you know, and I'm gonna have to give this up tomorrow, you know, or whatever. And just to like receive those foods as healthy and as nourishing, it just feels so free and so right. So
and being able to share them with the people that we love. My son used to taste my little experiments and he'd go, oh, this is actually really good. And I'd be like, really? And he's like, no. It's terrible. And I think we accepted it and kind of got used to these alternatives because we were the ones making the choice to eat that way. But then trying to share this stuff with people that we love, kids and my husband and stuff. And they're like, yeah, it was really good. And now I can give them things where they're like, no, yeah, this is actually really good. We like this. That
Yes.
feels good.
And I love that for me, I don't have the underlying guilt when I like before, because I would still cook for them regular food.
Mm-hmm.
And I would kind of have this like underlying guilt because I'm not eating it. But I'm feeding it to them. I'm like, oh, it would be better if they didn't eat that kind of thing. If they didn't, if they cut out sugar or if they, whatever. And now I don't have that. I kind of have a different perspective on nutrition, and I don't demonize all sugars in the same way. And so when I, make like the kids make homemade potato chips, and I've rendered a whole bunch of tallow. So they get out a jar of tallow and they put it in the pan and they slice up their potatoes and they make homemade tallow fried potato chips.
What?
And I have no issue whatsoever with them eating those potatoes. Like, not at all. Like they're little healthy metabolisms. They're getting all of the nutrition from the tallow, all of the nutrition from the potato, because potatoes have nutrition. Newsflash. And like, I just feel really good about it. Whereas before it'd been like, oh, I just wish that, I could have
letting them have the
over
poison.
their diet or something. And so there's just freedom all around.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go through the comments. I think there's a few questions in here. And if there are any more that anybody, would like to throw in, now is the time. We have already gone for an hour. So we'll probably wrap up in not too long, but let's see what all of you guys are saying. Mediterranean D, carbs from Whole Foods gave me so much energy. I'm technically overtraining and need to slow my roll. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it is amazing how carbs
in there
really give you that energy to keep going. Let's see. Michelle says, I'm glad I found you. I've been dealing with so many things and I thought I was just not doing carnivore right and was so frustrated. Adding carbs makes such a difference. I love that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people in that same boat, especially when not a lot of people are talking about the issues. And, the main message is carnivore harder. It can feel very isolating and like you're just, the odd one out that doesn't have enough willpower to be lion diet enough.
Yeah, because we're just carb addicts. That's the only reason we're bringing it in. It's not helping anything.
Right. But the water's fine over here on the carb addiction side. So anybody who wants to jump in, that'd be great. Let's see. When you add something, it's a good idea to subtract some fat. Yes, that is one of those things. And it is hard. Like Jen, you were talking about getting into that mindset of fat not being a free food.
Yeah.
Where, fat is good, therefore have the high fat everything. It's like, not that the high fat, dairy or high fat steaks or whatever are bad. It's just that there's an amount that is helpful and an amount that may be. So
you got to think outside the box. Like one of the things I recognize this Mediterranean D person, there was, when I was talking about one of my videos about potatoes and how I can go to town, I don't remember if it was him or somebody else, but putting the butter on it, I was like, oh my gosh, duh. Yeah. So having to think outside the box. Okay, I'm going to put some salsa instead, or that barbecue sauce was just fantastic on it too. So finding something else to help it taste a little bit better without putting all the butter. Because then when I did do that, as far as wanting to eat a bunch of it, it wasn't as bad. It was still there a little bit, but wasn't as bad as when I put the butter in it, or the tallow, the tallow fried French fries that we make. And yeah.
Yeah. Lucia says, help me. Nothing is working for me. I hope you got some good tips from what we were chatting about before. Maybe this would be a good time to give the teaser. Do you guys want to share what we've been working on?
Yes, I am super excited for this. We have been talking behind the scenes, and I think we kind of all were thinking this at the same time and never vocalized it. So we're going to create a community specifically for people who are transitioning out of low carb, keto, carnivore, and want to try this. Again, not emphasizing everybody needs to do it, but if you feel this is your situation, that you might be able to benefit. Maybe you related with something we said or somebody else. And you want to do that. You want to do it properly. And like Neely was saying, having a coach is really helpful, but realistically, not everybody can afford a one-on-one coach. So we have a community coming that will be 2 levels. The first level will be the most affordable. I don't have exact price points yet, but they're going to be affordable, where if you just want to be in the community, like we were blessed to be able to have each other to talk to and jump things off of. And hey, how can I make this meal lower fat? Oh, try this. Oh, brilliant. Okay. Those kind of community things. We'll have that along with some lives each month. And that'll mainly be community focused. Then there'll be a tier 2, which will include coaching from Miley and myself. And that's where we can help you with the macro breakdown. There'll be Zoom calls with some education. And, you know, it's obviously not just one-on-one. There'll be other people in the group, but we're going to keep it small so that people can get some of that individualized help, I guess. Like you'll be able to turn on your camera and talk to, it won't just be in the comments kind of thing. And we have other things lined up. I can't remember, Miley. Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, my mind just like totally went blank. We've got good stuff though. I can promise you that.
We've got resources. Miley's really good with circadian rhythm, so she's going to help with stuff on that. Seasonal eating, what does that look like if that applies to you? Winter, maybe you live somewhere where there's just nothing really growing. So what would that look like to you? Yeah, and we have, we'll be having guest speakers on that'll be exclusive for the community, and yeah, all kinds of stuff. So the goal is to launch it by December. We'll that's my goal. Also realistic as a homeschooling mom and business owner and everything, but that is my goal, is to launch it in December.
Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll all be sharing the details when things are up and running, but you can, have that in your mind. It'll be great for, I think, January, after the holidays. I know a lot of people will be ready to kind of buckle down. And so we'll be there.
Oh, challenges. That was the other one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Different kind of challenges in the community as well to hold each other accountable.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about this. Should men stay away from sardines because of hormone disruptors and plastic? I'm not an expert on this.
Sardines are bottom eaters, so there's not really much to disturb the hormones. They're really good for thyroid health, which dominoes into hormones.
Plastic. The plastic is talking about like microplastics that are just in the
ocean.
Maybe.
I would say that's probably, I mean, you want to keep microplastics as low as possible, but realistically, you're not going to avoid it 100% unless you.
And I think it's probably generally safer to go with the smaller fish.
Yeah, and then
right.
If like I mean, I buy the canned ones. I'm like whatever because I pick my battles. But if you're really concerned about it, there are sardines that are sold in glass bottles as well. If you want to try to avoid the BPA lining of the can, but I mean, we're not downing sardines every day, so
No.
It's kind of one of those. We have a liver where things can process out.
Yeah, and trying to avoid plastic and microplastic in general, you can make yourself insane.
Yeah,
there's plastic everywhere.
I think doing our best to support our body's own natural detox systems is probably the way to go.
Yep.
Yeah. Justin from Keto Simple is here. I really think single ingredient foods that grow from the ground are still on the PhD spectrum. Finding what works best for each individual is a journey of self-discovery, consistency, and satiety. Well said.
Yep.
Let's see. I want to get any other questions in particular. Here's one from Michelle. What would your generalized suggestion be for fat intake if you're around 200 to 250 grams of carbs?
So for me, I would say, number one, it depends on your goal. Are you at maintenance level or are you trying to lose weight? If you're at maintenance level, like 20 to 25% fat, and then of your total caloric intake. So people always look at like the grams, but you got to look at what your caloric intake should be for your height and weight and goals. So 20 to 25%. If you're at fat loss, I would bring it further down. But that needs to be like phases. So like 10 to 20%, 20 at max. But if you don't want to stay that low too long, because then you're going to have issues. So cycling in and out of 10 to 20, 20 to 25 and going back and forth.
Yeah.
And generally, the more active you are, the more muscle you have on your body, you can probably get away with a little bit more.
Yeah. And I will plug Mike Fave, if you guys know who he is. He has a calorie macro calculator that is really helpful if you just want that generalized, and you can, see your activity level, or you put in your activity level and different things, and it'll give you a general idea. But yeah. Let's see. Joy says, I can't seem to get enough sourdough bread with jelly. I didn't have bread for so many years, and now I just devour it. Yes, I have found that with a lot of different foods, when I add them back in at first, I'll feel like, oh, I want to eat this every day. And that only lasts for a little while. And it's like my body gets what it needs from it. And then it's like, oh, I could take it or leave it now. Have you guys found that? Like, these foods, have they, been triggering? Have you had triggering foods, or how's that?
I actually found I was craving Brussels sprouts. Like, what?
How funny.
And I know those aren't particularly high carb, but it's just not something that I would eat very often, and definitely not very much of, especially when I was more carnivore. But I felt like I couldn't get enough of them. And then all of a sudden last night I hit the limit, and I was like, I think I'm good. With the Brussels sprouts.
I will say sourdough, if it's plain sourdough, I have to be careful with things like jelly because of the sweetness of it. I will go to town. But if I have a very satiating meal prior to it and then I have the bread, I will be totally fine. If I go to it to grab a snack because I feel snacky, that'll send me down the hole. Like Bakery by Me does like true fermentation, organic, clean wheat, all that kind of stuff for the sourdough. And they sell cinnamon rolls, and those are to die for. They are so good. But when I have one, I get like, I want something else sweet. And so that, I would say that's the only one for me. Everything else, the fruits and all that, since I started tracking, I've noticed I need to up, like, because carbs aren't as calorie dense as fat. That's one of the other things I don't think we get to talk about, but I'm still a little bit in that mindset. Like, this is a lot of food. Like, I'm going over, but then when you track, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm at 300 calories. I can have more.
Yeah. I will also, oh, sorry.
No, that was it.
I was just going to say something that was really surprising to me when I was doing the whole food version of the sugar diet is that you hit a wall with sweet. I mean, I got to the point where I was craving meat and savory things. And so that kind of goes back to the carb addiction kind of stuff, that it makes me just wonder, because you were saying that you have to be careful with jelly. I mean, I don't think that many of us can sit with a whole jar of jelly and just eat that without a starch or without a fat or something else to kind of, if you're just sitting there with a jar of jelly, it's going to be pretty gross after a while.
Yeah.
It was and that was sort of a nice thing to experience with the sugar diet, was that no, you do get to an end point. Like, you do get to your limit with sugar when it's just straight sugar.
Yeah, I think most of the foods that tend to be addicting, or things that are triggers that people just can't stop eating, they tend to be a combination of the fat and the carbs and maybe some protein. And when you go down to just one macronutrient, you do a PSMF, or you do a fat fast, or you do a sugar diet, there's no like going overboard. You just hit that satiety. And so, like, to struggle with addiction to foods, I think you'd have to classify it a little bit differently than just a sugar addiction or just a fat addiction. It's more of a palate addiction or something like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Palate addiction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Do any of you ladies have fears of the addition of the carbs back into your lives? How are you overcoming those?
I did
a little bit about this. Yeah.
Yeah, I did 100% because I mean, I was using keto to control epilepsy. I was terrified of having I've never had medication this low. I'm still on a very low dose, but my whole life since I was 12, I've never been on a dose this low. So I knew ketogenic was doing something, but the more I learned about it too, I was like, well, the people that use ketogenic for epilepsy didn't stay on it forever. So what did they do? You know, and there's still that little fear of, oh my gosh, what if I'm driving my son to school and I get in a car accident? Like that was there. All I had to do is, well, not all I had to do, but what I had to do was a lot of nervous system work of trust and breathe and like you were saying, pay attention to what you're feeling. But then also, I will say faith is a big part of my life and just trusting in God and saying like, okay, you lead me on this. If this isn't what I'm supposed to do, like, help me see. I'm not somebody that just was everything. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those over spiritualized people, but it does play a big significant role in decisions in my life. So yeah, just trying to have some sense with that. Like, okay, people before the 50s were eating fruits and toast with their eggs in the morning and orange juice, and they were okay. Some people in the space will try and say our fruit didn't look like this with our ancestors. Yeah, you're right. But you can look at other times when it did look like this and they were eating and they were fine. So yeah, I don't know if that was actually helpful, but that's kind of what I did. And just taking it slow, you know, and being generous with yourself in the sense of, or merciful with yourself, like, okay, I'm trying to find healing and this might be part of the journey. And there's going to be bumps, there's going to be troubles, and acknowledging that.
I think that it's very tempting to go towards a nutritional framework that feels very certain. And there are a lot of people in all different nutritional frameworks, whether it be carnivore or vegan or, you know, paleo, where they want to, they communicate that if you do this diet, that it will stop all of the bad things and it will give you all of the good things. And I just have had to really reject that certainty in looking for or searching for health for myself, because I just don't think, I currently don't think there is that one. I think we live in a world that has brokenness and our bodies are not perfect. There is no diet that's perfect. Even if we found a perfect diet, our bodies are not perfect. Our environments are not perfect. It wouldn't work perfectly. And so it's more of doing the best with what you have and learning how to ride the waves of the imperfections. And so, yeah, it is tempting to say, oh, if I just go back to carnivore is the ultimate diet for humans and plants are trying to kill us, and if I just carnivore harder, I will get to that state of perfection. Like there's something that is tempting about that. Like just to have that kind of certainty. But I'm at the place where I don't believe that that's real. Like I would have to be, you know, lying to myself. And I don't think that I could do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what else, you know, what I have to just kind of accept the uncertainty. So maybe I will get cancer when I'm older. I don't have that certainty of, oh, my perfect keto diet is going to keep me from getting cancer. I don't have, you know, my perfect keto diet is going to keep me from getting a heart disease. I don't have that. And I'm trying not to do the same thing with my current diet. I'm trying to kind of hold it very loosely and very logically and not emotionally. So yeah, there are definitely fears, but I think we can never know the future anyway. So there's always going to be uncertainty no matter what. So if you think you have certainty, I would really question. I personally, I would question that.
Well, I think that not to sound super hippie, but I think there's value in really tuning in and trying to pay attention to how we actually feel. I think I was asking you ladies offline if you felt joyful from adding the carbs in, because, and I'm not feeling this as much right now, but there was a period in the summer where I felt just insanely happy. And it's not that I was unhappy before, but like kind of giddy, really happy. I was like, this is so strange. And I think that we have sort of been trained to outsource everything. We can't trust ourselves. We need the expert to tell us what's right. We need somebody else to tell us what to do and how to do it. And we then we lose that trust in ourselves. Like we don't tune inward and pay attention to how something is actually making us feel beyond the like, oh, well, this hurts my stomach or this doesn't hurt my stomach. But even, I mean, I associated carbs with anxiety. I had a period of really intense anxiety after my second baby. And that's part of the reason why I started to eliminate carbohydrates. I don't know if that really had anything to do with me resolving the anxiety. There were probably many factors. And so that has been a fear for me, that if I bring this back in, will I start to feel anxious again? Jen, I know that you were worried about that and had some feelings of anxiety, and it's physical. It's not the mental worrying about it. It's heart racing, sweating, just the physical feelings of anxiety. So yeah, like the hippie part of me is trying to tune in a little bit more and, okay, how did this meal actually make me feel? Or when I'm going to sleep at night, it's like, okay, well, how do I feel right now in every way, physically, mentally, emotionally? And it's not something I spent a super, a long time on, but just kind of checking in a little bit. And then it is great to outsource. It is great to have coaches and practitioners and doctors and all these people to help guide us. But ultimately, all of them are guides. Like we do really know ourselves if we pay attention. And I think giving ourselves permission to trust that is really important, especially with something like this, because we are going from one extreme way of eating into a little bit more of a, I don't want to overuse the word balanced, but it is a little bit more balanced. And it is a little bit scary, but I think our bodies are really good at knowing what to do and telling us. We just have to tune into that.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all the questions that we had. So we should probably wrap up. I knew that we would have no problem just filling more than an hour with talk. So I have your guys' socials and websites down in the description. So everybody watching can find you there. Make sure you go follow and, do all the things. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to add before we wrap up?
No, I think we're going to, for the people watching, I think we're going to be doing this a little bit more often as well, right?
Yeah. So if you guys enjoyed this, stay tuned, like and ring the bell for notifications for when we're back. We're gonna do some lives here on YouTube and then also lives in the community once it gets going. So if you enjoyed this kind of chat, we've got more planned. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, ladies, for joining, and everybody watching. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you again later.
Yeah. Thanks so much.